make a lot of money doing it. You do it because of this. And I'm about to tell you a quick story about Dr. Latham. When I was commissioner, you were reminding me of just a funny, I was thinking about doctors. We had a fighter come in one time from out of state, and we got word that he did not plan on fighting very hard. That within a round or so, he'd be on the floor. Now, if you get knocked out, that's one thing. But he didn't plan on doing that. He didn't plan on fighting. So I brought in one of my athletic assistants, Tom Hoover. You may remember Tom. Tom was all about 6'10", super imposing. And I said to the guy, come here. We have it on good word that you don't intend on fighting. If you don't fight, after the fight, you're going to be taken in the dressing room. And Tom was standing there. And I said, right, Tom? Right, boss. I said, Tom and a few other guys who are a little bit bigger than Tom are going to have a little chat with you. Their fists are going to do the chat. And when we're all done, Dr. Latham over here is going to stitch your top lip to your eyebrows. Guess what? He fought a hard 4-round fight and fought his ass off. So, I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking about doctors and everything, but again, thank you so much for what all of you ringside doctors do. Thank you so much. Well, I heard Charlie mention all my jobs, Ring Magazine and Sirius Radio, New York State Athletic Commission, Foxwoods Casino. It's obvious I can't hold a job. And it's been fun because all these jobs have taken me through my entire life, right out of high school and college, right through boxing. And this book just came out. I've been writing this. I think Bob Duffy heard about this book since he had dark hair and a lot of it. Same thing with Jack Hirsch. And I just want to, before I even continue, there's a few thank yous I have here. And first of all, Henry Haskell, congratulations on your upcoming induction into the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Very well deserved. That means that organization is now legitimate with you going in. So, there's a manager out there. Actually, before I mention him, you know that on June 1st, there's going to be a heavyweight title fight at Madison Square Garden, Anthony Joshua and Big Baby Miller. Well, the guy who named Jarrell Miller Big Baby Miller, Rich Commissar, has just moved back from Arizona, back to the local area. So Rich, please give a wave. He named Big Baby Miller. He gave him the Big Baby Miller. Then, of course, two commissioners in the House, and there are 3 commissioners in the House, me, Melvina Latham, and John Signorelli. And your Commish, Jack Hirsch, my old new friend. Love this guy, former president of this organization, just incredible writer, incredible friend. Tell Audrey we send our love.
What about Miss Melvina?
And, that's right. And, how many boxing dinners do you get to go to where there's not just a fight judge in the house, but 2 fight judges who happen to be probably 2 of the very best in the world? If I had to make my list of top 10, they're both in the top 5. John McKay and Steve Weissman. Small crowd, a lot of celebrities. And by the way, Melvina, you were a great commissioner. You were a great judge. So I mean, I don't even know if it was judging. We need more. You got to get back judging again. My book is a collection of stories from when I was first growing up, through my days as editor of Ring Magazine, to my days as commissioner in New York, and a little bit after that. But some of the chapters you're going to read in there, my opening chapter is called The Rock and Mr. Boxing. The Rock, of course, Rocky Marciano, and Mr. Boxing, we'll all remember the name Nat Fleischer. met him the day that Rocky Marciano died. And Nat and I became friends way back, that was 1969. And I remember being in his office, never thinking that 10 years later, almost to the day, I would be sitting in that very seat that Nat Fleischer occupied as the new editor-in-chief of Ring magazine. And I've always walked around with a lot of dreams that I wanted to fulfill. And standing here, I gotta tell you that I think I've fulfilled every dream that I ever wanted to. I just wanted to sit ringside one time, maybe first row ringside. I think I did that a couple of times. And it's just been a wonderful ride. So you'll read about that. I think we all have a time in our lives when we have to make a choice. And sometimes, no matter which way you go with that choice, you're gonna get in trouble. Well, this one was the cornerstone of my career because it was in September of 1982. I was announcing for ESPN, and I noticed that there was a guy who was under suspension. He had been knocked out 5 nights earlier at Madison Square Garden. And when I told the promoter about it, the promoter basically told me, shut your mouth. I said, I have to mention it. He said, no, you don't. You just shut your mouth. I couldn't do that. And then he said, if you mention it, you're gone. And I said, gone from ESPN? They just gave me a raise. I just renegotiated my contract. I don't work for you. I work for ESPN. He said, we'll see about that. This is in the early days of ESPN. The promoter exerted his muscle, and I was let go by ESPN. Well, 6 years later, when Governor Mario Cuomo was looking for a new commissioner, he said to the Inspector General in New York, see if we can get that guy who was fired years ago for telling the truth. And that's what started my career as commissioner in New York, where I served under Governor Mario Cuomo from 1988 to 1995. In the book, there's stories about my best friend. You remember this guy, Alexis Arguello, El Flaco Explosivo. In the book, you remember that he was involved, his family, Managua, was devastated by one of the worst earthquakes in modern history. It was in December of 1972. It leveled Managua, killed 250,000, and left Managua, virtually everybody else, more or less homeless. And this was the earthquake where Roberto Clemente, the Hall of Fame baseball player, lost his life in an airplane crash in trying to help the Monegenses. Well, the whole story of Alexis Arguello, his incredible career, and stories that people really don't know about him and about that earthquake, and about even the airline crash that killed Roberto Clemente. I did so much research on that. It really is amazing. I never knew exactly what it was. Also in the book, we all remember the Billy Collins, that tragic incident. Louis Resto, Panama Lewis. I wrote an editorial, I was editor-in-chief of Ring magazine then, called Murder, Plain and Simple. It wound up opening up an investigation that sent Panama Lewis and Louis Resto to jail. Ironically, when they got out of jail in 1988-89, they came back for their license. At that time, I was then the chairman. I turned them down permanently. And it really is unfortunate because it's like the guys who, or the people who commit a crime and get sent away for their lives, they know what they did, and they spend the rest of their lives suffering for it. Not long ago, Louis Resto ran into me at a boxing show. I was walking one way, he was walking another. And as he looked at me, he said, "Hello, Commissioner." I said, "Hello, Louis." And then I kept walking. He said, "Commissioner?" And I turned around and I said, "Yes, Louis." He said, "You ruined my life." I was about to look at him and start an argument with him, but what was the point? Did he really believe I ruined his life. But that chapter, Murder Plain and Simple, was a tough one to write because I was very close with Billy Collins and what happened to him afterwards with the drugs and alcohol, and he just fell apart. And within about 10 months after the incident, he wound up taking his life in Tennessee. There's a story on my co-hosted Sirius XM Radio, gentleman Jerry Cooney. There's stuff in there about Jerry that people don't know. And I asked Jerry if it would be okay if I put it in there. And one of the things is, I think we all know, because he's been very open about it, that Jerry has battled alcoholism. It's been over 30 years since Jerry has touched a drink. When we go out, his drink is cranberry and club. But back in his day, and he started to drink right after the Ken Norton fight. Even during the Larry Holmes fight, he was already heavy into the alcohol. The night that he fought Michael Spinks for the heavyweight championship of the world, Jerry was hungover. He trained for the fight, but he trained on 1 quart of scotch a day. A day. I asked Jerry, how did you even stand up in that ring? He said, I have no idea. He said, watch the video. I actually did, and now knowing that he was a bit hungover, but still, just to be able to have gone several rounds with Michael Spinks in such horrendous shape. And that's the only one that bothers Jerry. The loss to George Foreman doesn't bother him. The loss to Larry Holmes, who happens to be his best friend today. They are on the phone virtually every single day. It's just amazing to see what the two of them have become. There's that chapter, A Choice to Make. There's 2 king-size white envelopes where, down in Mexico City, the week that I became commissioner, Don King was trying to take over Mike Tyson's contract. And these white envelopes were handed to me with bricks of $100 bills. When I looked at them, I couldn't believe my eyes, and there was never a thought for a moment of even taking them. If I did, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be down in some island, deserted island, living in my mansion, because it was a lot of bricks of $100 bills. And I told Don King and Mike Tyson, if this is what it's going to take to break your contract, there's only one thing that will break the contract, and that's the truth. If you tell the truth will speak. And I handed King the envelope back, and he said, I don't want it, it's yours. And when we got off the bus, I left it right there. He goes, you can't leave this here. I said, it's yours, it's not mine. So that chapter is there. But the one chapter that really, to me, and I think we all know who he is. He was my best friend. I met him the week he came home in the late 60s from Vietnam. Was Irish Wayne Kelly. Wayne became my best friend for all the years. Mel, you know how hard this was. When I wrote the chapter, I thought I was going to be able to get this out. There were tears all over my computer because Wayne was everything that a best friend and a brother. He was my brother. You knew how close we were, Bob. He was an American hero. I see this, when I walked in and I saw this, I thought of Wayne. Because what kept him alive in the jungles of Vietnam, as he was crawling through the mud and the spider webs and past the snakes and everything else to rescue injured soldiers, was he had just started to box on the U.S. Army team. And he knew, he didn't know how, but he wanted to become something in boxing. Didn't know what, but he made up his mind then and there that he was going to fight, that he was going to officiate, that he was going to do something. And we became friends from the moment he got on. We boxed in the amateurs together. We refereed in the amateurs together. And then in 1977, we both decided it was time for him to become a referee. But unfortunately, politics reared its ugly head and he got shot down by the New York State Athletic Commission. And the book spelled it out. He got really depressed, went back into the ring again, won a couple of fights where he knocked the guy out senseless, all the anger in him. And then it finally left him. He got married, had a beautiful son, beautiful daughter, and they're going to be at the, he's being inducted into the New York State Boxing Hall of Fame on the 28th. 5 years later, Wayne applied for his license again. And again, politics reared its ugly head. Wayne was turned down for the second time. And the way that I told Wayne that he was going to be a referee, I called him up in the summer of 1988. I had just had my first interview. I was hired by Governor Mario Cuomo to become the chairman of the New York State Athletic Commission. I called Wayne and I said, Wayne, I want you to go down to the Athletic Commission on Monday and apply for your license as a ref. There was a pause. He said, are you crazy? I said, what? He said, well, don't you remember what happened? I said, no, refresh me. He said, are you losing it? So I played with him a little while, and I said, I promise you, this person will not go to the chairman of the commission. I promise you. He said, how do you know that? I said, Wayne, I know it. He said, no, you got to tell me, how do you know that? I said, I know it, Wayne, because I'm the new chairman. You could hear him yell miles away. He goes, are you kidding? He goes, well, can't this person go over your head? I said, that's how gun-shy you are? I said, he'd have to go to Mario Cuomo himself. And Governor Cuomo told me I could do whatever I want with that commission. You are my first act as commissioner. And I think, as we know, Irish Wayne Kelly went on to become, and maybe I'm alone in my thinking here, but when I asked, there is a man that I think was the best referee of all time. His name is Larry Hazard. When I asked Larry Hazard to give me a quote about Wayne Kelly, he said, one of the greatest referees of all time. He said, you called me up a long time ago about Wayne, and you wanted me to assess him. Truly one of the great referees of all time. And when I hear that coming from the man I thought was the greatest referee of all time, it confirmed what I already knew about Wayne. Then, for another quote, I asked the man who is today's best referee, Jack Reese. You saw him in the Lomachenko fight. You saw him in the Deontay Wilder fight. He does basically many, many big fights. He's out in California. He learned a lot from Wayne. He told me that Wayne was one of the best of all time. So on the 28th, I look forward to seeing all of you there. And I'm just so proud that this book is out. But I'm telling you, the chapter on Wayne Kelly is called It's About Time. Because when he got his license, and he stood in front of me, and then I signed the license, I gave him a hug, I looked at him and I said, Wayne, it's about time. So again, for me, the love affair is the work of my life. And because I wrote so many words in this book, I had to cut 50,000 words, I had to cut a lot of chapters. I'm hard at work on my next book. This is Glove Affair. The next one's going to be called Glove Story, and I'm going to be done within the next 2 months on Glove Story. I'll be right back here again. I'll see you guys on the 28th. Thank you so much. I love you.
Any questions for Randy?